Hi, welcome to this week's Fundraising Friday. This week we're talking about soliciting your board. I'm sure you've heard that you should have 100% board participation in your fundraising efforts. Yet most organizations I talk to fail to reach that threshold. As the year is winding down, one of the other major constituent groups you want to make sure you're engaging is your board members. Previous weeks, we've talked about your annual fund solicitation. We've talked about your major donors. But how can you encourage your board to all give, so that you have that 100% participation? The secret? Ask them. Too often I see organizations who think that their board will automatically give. Your board are your major donors, hopefully, and they should be treated as your major donors. You wouldn't just assume that major donors would give year in and year out. You wouldn't just assume that someone in that community who likes your organization or has some resources is automatically going to send it to your organization. No, you're going to ask. The other thing I see organizations doing is not only do they assume that their board is going to give, so they never ask them for that gift, but when they do ask, they do so in such an impersonal manner that probably takes the joy out of giving. Giving should be a very joyful activity. So what can you do to encourage your board members to give? Number one, treat them like major donors. What does that mean? Individual meetings with each donor, during which time you learn what their priorities are, you learn where their passions lie as it relates to your organization, you learn what their giving capacity is, and then ask them specifically for a dollar amount, like you would any donor. Too often I see organizations, it's the March board meeting, and so at your place is a list of your previous donations and a pledge card that you can fill out, leave here, and we'll take your donations. What are you going to get in that instance? Whatever I can just kind of on my own give without thinking about it, talking to my husband about it, or planning it. If we have a conversation, and if you include my spouse in that conversation, then you learn where my passion lies. You learn how much I want to give. You can talk about how maybe if I gave a little bit more for this passion area, how that would help the organization. You just might have that person give a little bit more. Second thing is you can explain to board members why it's important that they give. Too often we just kind of throw it very flippantly, go, "Oh, you're a board member, you need to give." Well, that's not really encouraging. And then I go, "Okay, here's $25, get off my back." Whereas if you really engage them in that giving conversation and in their passion, they're much more likely to give. Finally, you want to make sure you're stewarding their gifts just as you would any other donor. Have meetings to thank them for their gift. Share personally your outcome report with them. Talk about what a difference they're making. At the board meetings, you can make a notation about, we raised this much money, and you know what, board members, you've given this much of it. Thank you so much. That's another really good way to continue to steward their efforts. When you do this, you'll not only have 100% effort of your board while they're board members, but you should continue to engage them as donors to your organization well after their board service ends. That's this week's Fundraising Friday. Thanks. Have a great weekend.